Cloak, street gospel, light of the tempo. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One, and this is bonus episode number 2. I said last time I didn't want to do the whole Zoom call thing. It was a little rocky at times, you know what I mean? But for this guy, I had to do it. So this is bonus episode number 2. First bonus episode was with Coach Mosley from Last Chance U. If you caught our last episode, episode 24 with Taco God. So funny episode. If you haven't caught that episode, totally different than what we've done in the past. But a good dude. That was episode 24. But let's just get straight to the business here. I want to introduce this guy. And, everybody has to know that I always introduce my people with some bangers. So this guy, I gotta play a little bit of a banger for him. You know what I mean? So this dude, first of all, he's a hardcore kid. We'll get a little bit into that. He is a very good dude. He's very intimidating looking, but he's probably the nicest dude you ever meet. Okay? He's had quite a few fights. And I'm proud to say that I've probably witnessed just about all of them. I've seen him grow up over the last few years, and he's become a good dude, a good man, I should say. I mean, that's how old I am. I got to introduce this guy like he's my son or something. This is sad. This is a sad day in the Street Gospel Podcast. But he's a fighter. He is, he's traveling the world. I mean, I'm like, dude, how did this guy go from hardcore kid to a dude traveling the world? It's just, we'll get into that. But without further ado, I want to introduce UFC. Yeah, that's right. UFC 205 contender. He ain't a pretender. Right? He ain't a pretender. He's a contender. I always tell him he should go to 185 because he'll be a monster. Anyways, let's get to it. Give it up, Street Gospel Podcast, to my man, Khalil Rountree.
Production.
What is up, man?
Best podcast introduction I've ever had. Thank you.
Hey, man, we go all out in the podcast, bro. We go all out in the podcast. I mean, I got to give my peeps like a good little shout out. Let them know that I really appreciate them coming out.
Introduction. This is day one. Been there since day one, before the UFC, during the days of the ABC 1, 2, 3.
The funny thing about it is I was thinking how we met, right? And I was like, I was trying to like reminisce a little bit, because it's probably been almost like 9 years.
It's been
10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so check this out. So I got into, they would probably say that you got into fighting late. You're already like 20 years old, correct?
Yeah.
So I started training probably when I was like 36. I got into it a little bit, and I remember I was doing some stand-up, doing a little bit of jits, right, in my garage with my friend. He was fighting the King of the Cage, So I remember, I think I went on vacation like the week before to Vegas, and I went to Juan Gym, Mandalay Silva, right? Classic. So I go and I'm checking it out, and I had a few of my shirts, Saver brand shirts. I give one to Vitor, right? And I give one. I think I left one for Vandalay. He wasn't there, and I go, hey, next week I'm gonna come back with my friend. We're supposed to come and train, and they're like, all right, come back. So all that week, I'm a little nervous, man. All right. So my boy's telling me I'm ready. I'm like, dude, I'm not ready. He's like, let's just go, man. You catch somebody over there. And I was like, dude. So I go online. I YouTube Juan Gym. And who do I see? I see Khalil Rountree. And Vanderlei is just like banging on you, right? I'm just like, dude, this guy's just, and you were like kind of like smiling, like enjoying it, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm thinking in my head, I'm in trouble. So we go, you know, and I think I sparred with you a little bit, light sparring, very light sparring,
a little bit, yeah.
And so I think we caught each other in the locker room after, and I put on my Savior shirt.
Yes, sir.
and you were like, "Hey man, where'd you get that shirt from? I seen Coach with it on." I said, "I gave it to him," and ever since then we were friends.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a Jesus shirt, Savior, right? And you were like, "Hey man, I need one of those."
Yeah, I need that. That was a dope shirt. That was like around the time where I think I had like a bunch of like Obey shirts, all these things, and it just looked like a cool wheat paste of Jesus, man. And I was like, I need that. Like, what's up? And then that's how it started. My love for T-shirts, my love for Jesus, my love for MMA, and then look who comes in the gym with a whole backpack full of tees. Actually, full of tees.
Right?
Yeah, man.
So we were friends, and that set off a friendship, and it was cool to see you. How old were you?
I was 20, man.
So yeah, you were a young kid, and then I remember going back a few years later, and you had won the Tough Enough belt.
Yeah, 205 belt, amateur belt.
Yeah,
and that was my walkout shirt.
Right, that was your walkout shirt. So I remember you like, I need the shirt. I'm walking out with it. I was like, okay, sending you stuff. Can you send me the logo? I'm gonna put it on my shorts. And I was like, dude, this dude's showing me a lot of love.
Hey man, it was just that connection that we had off the first day, from sparring to just like the T-shirts to just like even talking about Jesus with you and Melissa. Like after training, I remember walking out to the car and you connected with my brother. So like anybody who connects with my brother automatically connects with me. And it just started from there. So it was just like, it was all love based, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
let me throw it on the shorts. Let me get the tee. Let's get this popping.
And then, Donnie's a good dude, man. I love Donnie. Donnie's really, I mean, you guys are, brothers. You're different, of course, in a lot of ways, but you guys are a very, and I mean this in all due respect, emotional guys. Like you guys wear your hearts on your sleeve, both of you, and I like that about you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I think I learned that, or I think we learned that just from moms, and then just having each other, and yeah, man, that's us.
It was dope because I remember when it was so cool because when Donnie used to fight, you would message me and say, "Hey, can you pray for Donnie?" And I would be like, "Yeah." When you fight, Donnie messages me and, "Hey man, pray for Khalil. Pray for Khalil, Dave. You gotta pray for," you know the way he talks. "Pray for Khalil, Dave. You gotta pray for him, man, right now." And I'm like, "I'm at work, bro. I will. I trust me. I'll pray for him."
Yeah, we actually both like share the same like nervousness. Like he's way more nervous when I fight than when he fights, and vice versa. So every time it's like he might be cool just chilling in the hotel room, but I'm like stressed out. Dave, you gotta pray for this guy. Really, I'm like, you gotta pray for me, Dave. I'm bugging out right now.
It's so cool to see that dynamic with you guys, man. And to be, and just to have a little part of it has always been cool. I remember I was with. I'm gonna get into the hardcore stuff because I think a lot of people probably think, hey, this is a brother. How is he into hardcore? Right? I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably trip out. But I remember I was going to a church out in Riverside, and I remember I met some friends of yours from the Great Commission.
Oh, sweet, yeah, Justin and
yeah. So they were going to that church, and I remember they said, "Hey, you train and stuff," and I was like, "Yeah, just a little bit." And so he goes, "Yeah, we have a friend, man. His name is Khalil Rountree. Have you heard of him?" And I started laughing. I was like, "I know that dude." And he's like, "Yeah, man. I remember when he was just like, he was real chubby, and he used to go with us to all the shows, and he was just quiet, just like a kid. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I want to be a fighter." And we were like, what? And he's like, yeah, I want to be a fighter. And they're like, I'm not going to be on tour no more. I'm not going to sell merch no more. I'm going to be a fighter. And so they kind of just like, they said they laughed it off. Like, okay, like go for it. We'll see you later, man. Good luck. And then you became the fighter.
Yeah. I mean, that exact way that he described it was exactly how it happened. Like, I remember I had gone. I came home. Donnie was in the house, but he was in this like armchair because he had hurt his shoulder. I'm like, dude, what happened to you? He was like, oh, I've been trying this MMA stuff, you know. So he's the one that showed it to me. And then I was like, this is cool. Like, I was like, after this I'm gonna go on tour this last time, and when I come back, you and I are both gonna go, and we're gonna be fighters. And so him and I made that pact. And I remember I went on my last tour and I told those guys, I was like, hey guys, I'm not going to be around anymore. Like, I'm going to become a fighter. And like, man, they did kind of like write it off. They were like, oh, okay. Like, that's cool. Some people were expecting that, you know, like, okay, we'll see him again in like a couple months, you know, but
right.
that was my last tour, man. And me and Donnie, we went full throttle on the MMA thing.
That's so dope, man. I remember them telling me that, but they had a reason to somehow doubt you, right? Because you're a big dude.
Yeah, man, I was big. So like they were right about me being like quiet. Like, I didn't really talk much. I went to the shows, I sold the merch, but one thing is like at that time I was touring and stuff. But Dave, I was smoking like 2 packs of cigarettes a day, bro. Like, just kicking them down. Now I think about it, I'm like, how did I even find that much time to that's 40 cigarettes a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot on top of just like all types of different things. So yeah, from an outward perspective, like them looking at me, I'm sure that they were like, yeah, how's this guy going to be a fighter? You know, like, for one, I'm like out of shape, non-confrontational, kicking back cigarettes like every 20 minutes probably, you know, like just crazy. So they had every right to feel the way that they did, you know.
Right. Did what was the motivation? You said you're non-confrontational. So I mean, was it to lose weight? Was it because I mean, oof, when I went into the gym, right, I was just doing it to try to lose weight. And then, you know, I thought maybe I can fight a little bit. And then my buddy tells me, hey man, everything you've known for the last 30 something years, just forget it because you don't know how to fight. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, you just stop. He's just like, just stop. And I mean, that's pretty, but to be like 20 years old, non-confrontational and just go, I mean, what was that motivation behind that?
Man, it was a lot, Dave. And, you know, it's just to tie something else into it. Like the fact that you and I met how we met and how we connected and all that stuff. The way that I'm going to tell this story has never been heard before. So it's like, I'm connecting with you because I feel like you'll get more of an understanding, you know what I mean? Especially based off of like how we met, right? So at the time when I met Justin and Angie from the Great Commission, I was involved in the hardcore scene. I was touring, I was selling merch. At the time, I right out of high school, I started doing that. So 18, 19, you know, that's the time where people that I knew were either like going to college or they were becoming firefighters and EMTs, and everybody was starting their life after school. And for me, I always knew just internally, I'm like, man, I'm never going to go to college. Like, I knew I wasn't going to go to college. Not only was it hardcore for me, but it was hardcore. It was hip hop. It was graffiti. It was, you know what I mean? Like just the environment that I kind of grew up in. And so I just never saw myself being like a guy who goes to school. You know, I was like, if anything for me, like I'm probably just going to be in the streets and, you know what I mean? I'm going to paint, you know, I'm going to learn more about hip hop. I'm going to have friends and we're going to, you know, do all these things. Like that was kind of like my mentality. So when I started touring, you know, I got to travel. I was all these places and I'm following these guys around that are the same age as me, but they're like on stage in front of thousands of people. You know, they're getting all this love. They're just like, they're living the life that they want to live at the same age that I was. And I'm like, I started to feel like, man, I'm just like an extra. Like, I want to be on stage. Like, I want to, you know what I mean? Like, I want people to want to take photos with me. Like, all these things. These are like internal feelings and questions that I had. But on top of that, man, I was mad depressed. Like, I had no vision. I didn't know where I was going. I felt terrible about myself because of my health, because of being overweight, smoking, all this. Like, it was bad. I was in the worst place ever. And during the time we were on tour, I met a band called Impending Doom, and they're a Christian band from Riverside. And I came up with these guys too. I knew them when I was a kid. Like, when I played in a band, we played shows together. So I knew them, and they ended up hopping on the tour with us. And I just saw that there was like something different about these guys, especially within the metal and hardcore scene. They were like, they were the Christian guys, so they stood out amongst that group. But as a person, like as a human, I felt like there's something about these guys, man. Like, there's something, like there's a light, there's a love, there's something that's different. Like, they're still grimy, they're still hard, they still have great like metal music. It's still pissed off, but as people, there's something different. And I started to kind of like merge myself over with them a bit more, like I'm like, yo, what are you guys about? So it was just like a couple of van rides, just being in a different atmosphere with them, listening to like what they were talking about. They were throwing out words like conviction and all these things that I had like never heard before, but I saw that like it meant something to them. So that's kind of what got me into being more curious about just like this like spiritual side that my mom, when I was raised, my mom's Christian. My dad was Muslim, so I always kind of like never knew where to fit in. But these guys, like the more I started to learn, I was like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. So I was in the van, Dave, and one day I was just having a real bad day. I was in the van, I closed my eyes, I was like, yo, if there's a God, if it's real, if you were real, I just want to have a good day. Like, that's literally it. I want to be happy. Like, I'm so unhappy. Like, I just want to be happy. So I'm in the front seat of the van, and I like fall asleep during this prayer, and then someone like knocks on my window, and I open my eyes, and it's one of the guys from Impending Doom, my friend Isaac. So I get out of the van, he's like, yo, come to the mall. We're going to go to the mall right now before we play. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'm at the mall, we're shopping, we're eating, we're having fun, all this stuff. We get back to the show, I sell merch. By the time we're wrapping up and I'm packing everything into the trailer, I'm like, I had a good day today. Like, I feel good. And I was like, nah, nah. You're like still doubting, And I was like, nah. So at the end of the night, they're like, yo, ride with us tonight. Like, we're all going to the same city. We're like, hop in the van, ride with us. So I ride with them. They end the night with a prayer, Brooke, who is the lead vocalist, he leads us in prayer. He's like, God, thank you for, allowing me to, speak to your people, all these things. And I'm just like, yo, this is deep, so I'm starting to listen more. And then as I connect with them, he throws me a book called Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. And before he even threw me a Bible, he threw me Wild at Heart. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, cool. So I'm in the van, I'm reading Wild at Heart, and he just starts speaking about all this, the masculine energy, like God's heart, all this stuff. And I'm like, yo, this sounds cool. Like, why have I been so iffy? Like, this sounds dope. So that was kind of the start of me searching for something more. And for me, when I got off that tour and went home and my brother showed me fighting, I was like, this is it. This is scary. This is calling me to be something bigger, all of these things. And so I just that is kind of what led me. So it was being in this kind of dark place and lost, then to finding out, that there's a different type of people that I had ever known. And then reading, and then just applying the things that I read, and that it just all started to unravel. You know what I'm saying? And then I met you, and then this and that, and then it just everything started to just unravel until now. And it all that's all kind of how it started, man.
that is crazy, man. I on the surface, right? It looks like it should have never have happened, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, there's only a handful of black kids in hardcore scene, right? So here you are riding with a right here you are riding with a group of guys, you know, and they influence you in this positive way. You get a book called Wild at Heart. You get this stuff built up inside of you, and then you go back home and you're like, yeah, I need to start fighting. You know,
doing something, you know what I mean? Like something that calls me to be, you know, like calls my spirit out to be something, you know, like whatever it is. I didn't have any calling. There was nothing calling on me. I'm 19 years old, 305 pounds, the most unhealthy that I could physically be. You get what I'm saying? Like the most unhealthy that I could be. Didn't drink water, didn't eat vegetables, fast food, gas station food, soda, cigarettes, that was it. You know what I mean? And that was how I stayed alive. There was no nutrition. There was no broccoli. There was no nothing. You get what I'm saying? And so when, like, for some reason, when I saw fighting on TV, there was like a similarity, fighting and like hardcore moshing, right? Like there's an aggression to it. Like these guys were pissed off. So that's why I connected to MMA fighters and like the Ultimate Fighter and stuff, because I'm like, they're pissed off just like me. You know, like there's a reason why I go to these shows. Like I got some anger inside and this is a safe place for me to let it out. So you mean that I can go and let this out and it still be okay? Like I don't get considered, you know, like an animal or like a thug or whatever. Like cool. So that was like, I saw the similarities and I saw that it was like, there was like some competition in it and it called me to be something better than I was. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to give this a shot. Like maybe this is it for me. And then when I started, that was it. I was surrounded by people who were just like, yeah, man, if you lose 100 pounds, I'll get you a fight. So I'm like, all right. So I go home and I like, how do I lose weight? Okay, I got to stop eating this. I got to stop smoking. I got to do all this. So I switched my diet up. I went to the gym every day. And I had my first fight a year later. And I won in like 18 seconds. And I was like, no way. Like, no way. And people were cheering for me. My name was on like, you know, like on the little billboard thing. Like finally I was on stage. You know what I mean? Like I was on that stage where I was like, wow, like people are here for me. This is cool. You know, like this is real cool. And I just never gave it up. You know, I just stayed.
Were you good right away? Or you know how there's some people that have some natural ability. They go into the gym and you just see like, okay, this guy's gonna be good. I see guys come into the gym and they're jiu-jitsu gym. And I start rolling with them, and I said, look, man, if you come every day, you're going to be good. So Don't quit. Was there some natural ability there?
Yeah, there was. That's actually what kept me coming back, was the first day that I went to training. I don't know if you remember Michael Costa, but he was the Muay Thai coach at the time. And when I was looking up fighting and all this stuff, I saw Vanderlei. I saw that he was considered a Muay Thai specialist, Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I started looking into more what the martial arts were. And then I saw Anderson Silva, and everybody who I liked the most, their specialty was Muay Thai. So I went Vanderlei's gym. You know, I'm like, this guy's sick. His name's the Axe Murderer. He's dope. I want to join his gym. Oh, it's in Vegas. Oh, they specialize in Muay Thai. That's where I want to go. So I went there. My first class was a Muay Thai class. And after the class, Michael came up to me and he's like, hey, man, is this your first time? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you have potential to be really good if you show up, like if you keep coming to my class. And Dave, that was the first time in my life that I had ever gotten that confirmation from a coach or from someone who was like encouraging me to do something. Because as you know, we can speak about later, but like I lost my father, you know, at 2 years old. So my mom never was like, yeah, go play football or go play sports. She was always like, no, stay at home. Like it's dangerous out there. You know what I mean? Cause like my pops was murdered. So I'm the only piece. She's like, nah, so you stay close to me. So I was never like pushed to do anything, you know, exciting or scary. I was more like sheltered. So this guy's like, yeah, man, show up. Like you can be good. And the way he looked at me too, I was like, oh, he's serious. You know, like He's like, you could be good. Show up tomorrow. Be here. 9 o'clock. Be here. And I was like, wow. Okay. And yeah.
Well, I mean, that's pretty crazy that he took you under his wing, basically. I mean, I've seen that guy in the gym. I think when I went, I think he was the first guy I met when I went that day. And solid dude. But what, like, you go to a gym like Vanderlei's, I mean, it's no joke, right?
I mean, yeah, the guys were like, I went the day after that, and that was a sparring day because I went on a Monday and then they would spar on Tuesdays. And bro, I'm telling you, like, people were literally getting knocked out like left and right. You know what I mean? Like, people, they were like, at that time, Vanderlei's gym and that squad that he had like handpicked everybody, and those dudes were the toughest dudes I've ever seen in my life. And so it was, to tie in, like, at the time I was reading the book, Wild at Heart. So like, I saw these guys, I was a bit like nervous and like hesitant, but the stuff that I was reading in the book was kind of like calling me to challenge those things and calling me to like kind of more like run towards the things that I thought were scary. You get what I'm saying? So I started to see them as like, nah, these are men doing what like men should be doing. Like, we should be preparing to fight. It's just a part of who we are. And before that, I had really never gotten to any, like, I'd never been in a one-on-one fist fight before I started fighting. It was like hardcore stuff. I'm backing up my friends. We're fighting in the crowd, like things like that, but never like one-on-one, be here at this time, we're going to throw down. Like, it was, I'd never been in that situation. So, seeing those dudes, it was encouraging. I was like, okay, this is the time for me to step up and to become a man. Yeah, man.
That's pretty commendable because, you usually typically get that motivation from your father. And I know your father was murdered at a very young age.
Yeah.
How did that have any motivation for you to say, okay, I have to do this, for my future or my family? I mean,
yeah, I think 100%. So my whole life, just knowing the person that my dad was and the things that he did, just from the stories I've heard. So like being a manager of New Edition and Boys to Men, like iconic groups that are, like that within not just the black community, but just the world. Like, people know who these guys are, and to know that my dad was, a manager, a road manager, a friend. One of my earliest memories, which is, it's mind blowing that I even have these memories, but at 2 years old, I was at my dad's funeral, and I remember it being like, I remember seeing the people. I remember seeing the streets flooded with people. I remember it being like a ceremony, almost like how when we lose somebody nowadays, we see the streets flooded. DMX, when he passed away, like all these people. My dad's funeral was very similar to that, and so in the back of my mind, growing up, I always knew that like I had to be something. Everything that I heard from my dad was like, man, he was amazing. Man, he saved my life. Man, he did this. Man, he paid my rent for 6 months, and like, like all of these things. And I'm like, wow, he was a good dude. And then people are like, man, you look just like him, or, oh, he would be so proud. So I always had this like positive image of my dad. And I always had this like, this idea that I had to do something that was going to make him proud, And so, growing up, like, I didn't have him, so I never really like knew where to go. I didn't know what to do. I had my brother. I had both my brothers, actually. Both my older brothers, they raised me. But they were like in the same situation I was in. We didn't have pops. So like I saw like my oldest brother kind of like fell to the streets, right? Like he went to the streets to help keep the lights on. We didn't have food. We didn't have, it was bad. It was bad. Donnie kind of like went down that path a little bit, but realized I got the responsibility of my little brother. And so like him and I kind of, that's what started our bond, is like we became friends, and we kind of taught each other how to survive the world without a dad. We were kind of dads to each other in a sense, And yeah, so it played a huge role, man, and it still does to this day. I'm not gonna lie, but I handle it differently because of the experiences that I've been in and the fights that I've been in, and you know what I mean, the relationships that I've had, all these things. It still plays a huge part.
I like that you put Khalil Rountree Jr.
Yeah, I switched that. I switched that. They used to call me the war horse, right? Like, because when I would fight, I'd go out like just head first. As soon as the bell rang, it was like ding, and I was just like, there was no stopping me. And then like as I started to connect with myself more and who I really am inside all of these things, I dropped that warhorse thing, and I was like, nah, man, like I'm Khalil Rountree Jr. Like I'm the son of my father. You know what I mean? Like I do have this personality where I can be headstrong and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, when all of this is over, like I want to be remembered as being my father's son. And you know what I mean? And if you want to take it deeper, you can, you know, like my father and my father, you know what I'm saying? Like it's deeper. So I just was like, nah, just throw the junior, because like it's bigger than fighting, man.
It's so crazy because I'm a junior too. So
Yeah.
my father passed. This year will be 20 years ago. So
Okay.
I mean, I had him for 27 years, but it is a rough scenario. But you do get to a point where you say, I just want to make him proud, and I want to make, like you said, my heavenly Father proud. And at the end of the day, that's it's kind of all that matters, right? We kind of just go like, you know, like I mean, all the time I think about my dad. And I like, what would he do? You know, what would he do? What would he represent? How would he handle this? You know, I'm pretty sure you asked yourself many times. I wish I could ask him, but I try to pick this scenario and say, okay, this is probably how he would handle it. And then of course, Heavenly Father, right? We want to do His will in our life too. So it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's a double burden, but it's a double responsibility.
100%. 100%. And you know, it's actually that, like, a lot of people hear the word responsibility and sometimes it can feel like heavy, and sometimes responsibility is heavy. But like when I take a step back and just look at all the things that I've had to carry and all the responsibilities that I've had to take on, I'm super appreciative of the person that it's made me today. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for a lot of the responsibilities, although sometimes it can get heavy. It's, you know, like the fact that when people hear my name or reach out to me, it's usually for good things, and it's usually for just like some type of like, hey man, you helped me in this, or hey, you said this and this helped me, and I'm like, okay, cool, like good. Like if there's people that are being helped and lives that are being, you know, like impacted and stuff, then cool, like I'll take the responsibility. I'd rather have feedback than something else, you know.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, it's almost like it is a privilege. It's a responsibility, but it's a privilege, you know. Like I'm grateful when, you know, somebody tells me, hey, great podcast, or I listen to the podcast. I'm like, awesome. But I can only imagine you with all your followers now, but getting the feedback. But I mean, thankful for our fathers and thankful for the lessons and the legacy that they left. You know, it was a great legacy. It's not like we had some fathers that didn't leave a great legacy for us. Sometimes it's very hard to live up to the legacy, but sometimes it's a good thing, that it's a motivating thing that helps us keep going, man.
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of teaches us too, right? Like you being a father, like you want to leave a legacy behind, so, you know, so Cam and, you know, like, and Ash and everybody can be like, yo, like, this is what my father would do, or what would my father do? You know, it's like, it's kind of like you're passing down what your dad did to you, to your children, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do, a good thing to have, man.
So
for
good.
Sure.
So
You know?
let's talk a little bit about fighting Khalil. And I can do the whole, you know, the Muay Thai thing. We know you really, really shined during that Eric Anders fight where you just came out sick. I was just blown away with the Gokhan Saki fight, because I'm not gonna lie, brother, I was a little nervous for you, man. I was like, okay, Khalil, this dude, I've seen him. for years, K1 fighter. I was just like, oh my God. And I know I wasn't afraid for you. I had some reservations. Let's just put it like that. I was like, okay, this. And so but you took the fight, and I remember when you got the fight, I messaged you, and you were like, yeah, man. I said, well, do it, bro. And you did it. You did it. KO. Yeah. Right? I mean, yeah. What was that feeling like?
It was the best feeling I've ever felt, because I knew the entire time, from months before I even signed the contract, that was going to happen. I knew it. Wow. And the thing that's crazy is that, like you said, like you had some reservations. So imagine everyone, even the people closest to you, having the same reservations. Like that, if that's not motivation, then I don't know what it is. Like, to have my own coaches at the time doubt me, to have, like everybody around me like, hey man, just take him down. Take him down? Like, I'm Khalil Rountree. I've never taken anybody down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not even me. So the fact that you're even encouraging me to take somebody down, I actually, like, I X'd a lot of people out from that fight. And it was kind of the best thing for me, because it made me realize, like, who really believed in me and who didn't. And it's like, obviously, like, yeah, it's normal, it's natural to have reservations, especially when you got a guy who's kind of like pretty brand new in the game versus a legend who's like pretty much fought everybody that there is in the striking world. But something about it, Dave, like, I knew that I was going to win that fight. I knew I was going to knock him out, and all of these things, and I had no doubt whatsoever. And that was the first time that I never doubted. And so to win the fight, it was amazing. To win it in that fashion as well was amazing too, because during the preparation, like, he really got under my skin, and he like disrespected me as a person and as a man, and that to me, like, it just fired me up even more, and it gave me even more confirmation that I was going to do the job that I knew I was going to do. So yeah, man, like it feels good. It feels good to have that, under my record, under my belt. But I know that there's a lot more to come, a lot more.
Right. Let me ask you this, Khalil. I mean, great wins, and you've had some losses. When you think about that old saying, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I mean, I can't speak for you. I mean, I've had some defeats, but I mean and I've had some wins, right? But how high are those highs and how low are those lows? That thrill, the victory, the agony, defeat. I mean, it's got to be, because there's so much invested emotionally, physically over months and months of time, and then you either get one or you get the other. What is that like?
It's hard. So I'm going to get into a little bit of detail. So, like, for one, every single time that I fought, Donald Cerrone just talked about it in the last card. Just that feeling, the nervousness, before, the coldness, the doubts, all of that thing. It's 100% real for everyone, in my opinion. And to me, the best way for me to describe it is, when I walk out to the cage, I could say that, like, it reminds me or makes me feel as if, like, I'm walking death row, like, to the electric chair. And the more that I thought about that and the more that I analyzed that is because, like, for one, I'm a human being just like everybody else. But being a UFC fighter and having all these eyes watching, there's also, like, a reputation to keep up, right? And also included in that is my ego. And so it's like, if I don't win this fight, then people kind of see the real me. You get what I mean? They see me, they see my vulnerabilities, they see my weaknesses. And so, like, I'm walking out to a stage in essentially my underwear. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we might be in shape, but still we're naked, man. So it doesn't get more vulnerable than that to me. You got millions of people, you got cameras, you got lights, you got music, and you're just there naked. So that alone itself is just like, it's a lot of pressure. And then going before that, depending on how long your camp is, so it could be 6 weeks, it could be 8 weeks, it could be 2 weeks, but there's still preparation that you're putting in. And every single day, if you're doing your job correctly, you're giving your 100% in the preparation. So with that comes sore body, lack of sleep, you know, all of these injuries, all of these things that you just have to fight through in order to make it to the next day to go train and be 100% again. So if it's 8 weeks long, it's 8 weeks of 100% every single day until this small moment of 15 minutes. It all has to fit into that 15 minutes. So to go in there and to win, it's the best feeling in the world, because all of the crappy stuff that you had to deal with pays off. The lack of sleep, the eating just vegetables and drinking water and all of that stuff while your friends are having a good time, you know, can't go, like not going to the movies, all types of stuff that you have to sacrifice. It all is worth it. And when you lose, you got to go back and you got to do it again even harder, because now the world is talking crap. I'm still human. I still like to use Instagram and talk to my friends too. And people say like, oh, just ignore it. It ain't that easy. We're all connected to our phones now. And I can't block every single person. And if I make my profile private, then I'm closing out people who, you know what I mean? So I still have to deal with the criticism. So like, I have to perform my best. I got to win. Otherwise, it's going to knock me down the ranks and I'm going to get judged for it. And so losing a fight, it's terrible, man. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like being stripped of everything. You know what I mean? Your money, because you only get half of the money. You know, your pride, your heart, like all types of stuff. And just losing a fight for me, it'll strip you of everything, and then you got to rebuild, and you got to do it 2 times harder. So, yeah, man, it's a heavy thing, and I don't think that fighters get enough respect, because it's so like disposable to people nowadays, right? Like, okay, we watched a fight this weekend, there's another one next weekend, and after that there's another one next weekend. And so people think that we as fighters are just disposable. Oh, that guy sucks. Oh, his jits is garbage. Oh, blah 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 blah. And I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna tell him on Instagram how much he sucks. And so like, we got to deal with this unless we're winning. If we're winning, then people are like, oh, he's the best, and somebody's like, nah, but he's trash. It's crazy, man. It's like, you know, it's almost like, don't get me wrong, I definitely don't say this like in any disrespectful way, but like, I see a lot of Jesus in fighting, because like, you know, like it's almost like walking to the cage is like carrying the cross, and like there's some people cheering and they want to see you rise and they want to see you shine, and then there's some people that are spitting on you and throwing fruit at you and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like, whatever you have inside, a vision, a promise, whatever it is, that's kind of what you have to hold on to. That's all you got to hold on to, because your coaches, your friends, they can't go in the cage with you. You know what I mean? It's just you and your spirit and whatever you see internally that you want to make happen or that you feel is possible for you. It's right there is your time.
It's so good, because you're right. It is a spiritual thing. I mean,
yeah.
When it comes down and it boils down to everything, it's just you. It's just you and God. And whatever adversity you have, you know, like you said, we can equate it to, you don't have your coaches, you don't have anybody with you, right? They train you, they send you on your way. You don't have spiritually, you don't have your pastor, you don't have that brother that was encouraging you. It was like, you got to do the work now, and you're on your own, and you got to make the right decisions, and you got to handle your business. Here you go.
1,000%.
That's pretty.
You know
that's pretty intense.
Like,
it's pretty intense.
You get what I'm saying? Like you got to have something, man. You got to have something, and all of that stuff. To me, the more that I fight and the further that I go, I realize that like everything is in the preparation. You know, like the winning and losing, that's the outcome. Like we can't really control what happens, right? But for me, now that I'm realizing, the more that I prepare and what I put into my preparation, the heart, the mind, the spirit that I put into my preparation, like if I go out there and I lose, well, like, okay, whatever, that happens. But did I prepare to really elevate me to the next to the next level as a person, as a man? Did I prepare enough to where this fight, regardless if I win or lose, is it propelling me to the next level? That's kind of like the mindset that I've been trying to develop and practice now.
Did you ever feel like after a loss or a rough fight, like, or even a rough camp, right? Because people don't know about the camps. They're just as rough as a fight, right? But did you ever feel like, man, I'm done? You know, this is just this is not for me anymore.
I retired. I don't know if you know that or not, but like in my mind, I had a fight booked of March 2020. And at the time I was living in Thailand, so we had already gotten hit by COVID in December of 2019. So I was already experiencing what that was like and all this stuff. And so in my mind, I was just like, I don't love it enough to keep doing it in the middle of a pandemic, regardless of how how safe they think they can make these shows happen. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't love it enough to have to travel across the world to go fight for people who don't care about me. You know, like I started to look at the fans like, you guys don't care about me. I'm just another body that you guys get to see violence on television. Like, but as a person, you guys don't care about me. You don't care that I have to feed my family. You don't care that I'm insecure. You don't care about nothing. So why would I do this? You know what I mean? And for me, I was like, does this really make me happy? Sometimes. But with the preparation and all this stuff and it not even being guaranteed that I win, do I want to do this? Because this guy's training to kill me, you know, or hurt me or swing as hard as he can at my head. And at our level, that's very dangerous. So I started to question a lot. I started to think like, man, is this really what I want to do? And I came to the conclusion, I was like, nah, I'd rather, at the time I was in Thailand, I was like, hey, I have a good life here. The people here are amazing. They live off of, you know, what they grow. They're selling food on the streets, peaceful, you know, all of these things. And I was just like, hey, I literally could stop right now and be okay with my life, truly being a UFC fighter and living the rest of my life here. And then I started, you know, as the pandemic started to increase and all of these things and just time to think, I realized, you know what, man, like, I can't give up, you know, like, I can't let all of this stuff discourage me from being, you know, that's like Khalil Rountree Jr. I can't let this stuff, you know, discourage me from being the person that I feel like my father would want me to be and the people that do care about me want me to be. So I had to be a little bit less selfish and kind of just like, you know, pick up my cross.
Is it easy for you to wear your heart on your sleeve? Because even when you were on the UFC show, you know, the Ultimate Fighter show, you would just have your feelings on your sleeve. And do you get any backlash or people that say, why are you like that, man? Don't do that. But it's just natural. It's really sincere. It to me, it doesn't come off as, I know you, so I guess it's just who you are. And I think it's like some people like want to play that up or try to be too tough and play it down, and they're not that tough. But it seems like it just comes natural for you just to let it shine like that.
I can't help it, Dave. Honestly, I've tried to do the other stuff. I've tried to close myself off and just be hard. You know what I mean? Or not show emotions. And it kills me inside. It kills me inside, man. For real. Like, if I don't speak how I truly feel about something, then I hold on to it. And it just eats me. It eats me alive. And I'd much rather just say how I feel and all these things and cry if I have to on live television or whatever, because that's just who I am. And if you don't love it, then I don't care, you know, like, or if you have a problem with it, then that's on you. Like, go watch somebody else, like, stay off my channels. You know, that's kind of how I look at it. And so just in my life, I've tried to do as much as I can with just connecting with people through different programs, through charities, through being camp counselors, all of these things. And one thing that I realized is that, like, not just me, but speaking personally, like, I feel like my power is in my vulnerability. Because even in your introduction, you say, like, you know, you're like, he may look intimidating, but he's a good guy. So I've carried around my whole life, not only looking intimidating, but being black in America, you know, whether Vegas or LA or Louisiana, doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same everywhere. You know, people's children looking at me weird, or babies crying when I hold them. Like, being a person who feels like has a good heart, but has like a kind of like a external shell that's like, you know, kind of creates that separation. I was just like, nah, like I have to show people who I am through this shell. Because this shell will get me killed. You know what I mean? Like, they got to know what's inside.
I think that's what everybody, right? I think if we all did a little bit more of that, right? Look past the shell. You know, I always laugh because, you know, I shaved my head, and I just did it because I used to have short hair when I was younger. It was the trend in Southeast LA, and I shaved it recently, and I forget sometimes, you know, with my tattoos, and I shave my head, and I think I'm a lot like you. I'll start talking to people, and they kind of give me the eye, and my wife goes, and I told my wife, what's the deal with that, man? I'm like a nice guy. What the heck? You know, they didn't even talk to me. You know, I'm trying to be nice. And then she, you know, and then if I have the Raider hat on, it's even worse, right? So then I'm like, all right, so, you know, and she goes, you forget, like, you have this shaved head, you have these tattoos from the outside. It is a little bit like, yo, and I get it, and I don't get mad at it. And so I said, okay, let me win these people over, and I take it as a challenge sometimes, because I'm like, I'm gonna show them how nice of a guy I am, and how and let the Lord shine a little bit more through me because of this, and they're gonna know, because it's very easy. And I think, you know, like with you, I think, you know, it was like, I met you and I was like, this cat's different than any other brother I met. You know, I had my friends that I still talk to this day, my hooping friends, right? And I was the only Mexican on the team. So I had Big Mel. He's huge, man. He's security. And I have my friend Ill Will and Amir and Dewan. And I'm the only Mexican guy, you know, and all good dudes. They all grew up in the hood. But, you know, it was, I would introduce them to people, or I would take them to my neighborhood, and we'd play in my neighborhood, right? So it was all Mexicans. And it was just, I was like, no, these are good guys. Like, I know these guys. They're solid dudes, man. Like, I mean, I even laughed because, like, they backed me up a few times when I was going to get jumped. And it's just that exterior that I think we all get caught up in, as far as the look, the intimidation, the stereotypes, right? We people stereotype us all the time.
Yeah, it's just what happens, you know what I mean? And then I feel like, you know, like I'm already gonna get stereotyped. People probably already, you know, have ideas of what type of person I am just based off the outside. And like, one thing that I've finally started to embrace, that I ran from for a while, but I finally started to embrace it. Like, you know what? Yeah, don't get it wrong. Like, what you see on the outside, it's possible. But I don't choose to, you know what I mean? Internally, I don't choose to be that way.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? But, like, what you see on the outside, yeah, maybe you might be right, but you're not fully right, because you don't know the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the cover, you know, the cover of the book, it's pretty accurate, but open it up and read it, and I'm sure you'll find some stuff that's, you know, that you connect with, you know.
I think that's the problem in our country right now. I think if we just allowed each other to get to know each other, just and for everybody, right? You know, for the white and the black, the brown and the black, you know, it's whatever it may be. If we just allowed each other, I've come to the conclusion that everything may not be a race thing or a color thing. They might just not like me. You know what I mean? I mean, they just might not like me. It's cool. I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not funny to everybody. I'm not, people. I can become a little abrasive sometimes, and so I've been taking it as like, hey man, this is just maybe they just don't like me, and it's cool. It's nothing other than our personalities don't match. Now sometimes it does get more than that, and it's cool. I get it. In a world of evil, in a world of prejudice, in a world of sin, period.
Yeah,
we're gonna always have that.
Yeah, for sure. It's always there. Something came up the other day. I don't remember where I saw or where I read it, but it was just like along the lines of like, hey, like not everybody has to like you. It's okay for people to not like you for whatever reason. And I know that I struggled with that because just being a person who just like, I just want to see people happy. I want to like people. I want people to like me. It's just a part of life, but so if someone doesn't like me, sometimes I like analyze them like, why? What did I do? But it really doesn't matter. You're going to have people that don't. You're going to have people that do. And that was something that like, I think it was last week, and it was good to read that because I started to think like, yeah, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who likes me or doesn't like me anymore. Like I'm still, whether you do or you don't, I'm still going to be me. So, nothing changes.
Nothing changes, brother. Never changes. I was tripping out on you. I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. So yeah. I didn't know this about you, but you're into graffiti.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, Khalil, like, why don't I know this? You've seen the podcast. You've seen my art. You've seen people I know.
I always see all your stuff. I know your inspirations. You know what I mean? I see the people that you're connected with, you know what I mean? Or that you're friends with. And yeah, I think that's another reason why, like, I've always just like appreciated you or just like have been friends with you because, like externally, like your podcast and stuff that's here in your walls. I'm like, oh yeah, that's stuff that I'd have in my crib too. I guess like I don't really speak about it because like it's a struggle being a UFC fighter and everybody just expects me to be a UFC fighter. You get what I'm saying? And when people, you're my boy, and that's why I'm on the podcast with you right now. But I can't tell you the last podcast that I did between this and Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan was like 2 years ago. And it's just because, like, I don't want to talk fighting. It's just, you know what I mean? It's a part of something that I do. Like, whatever, I'll talk with you because, like, we connect on a different level. Like, we're talking about it differently. But it's just, like, it's not really, like, what I grew up doing. You get what I'm saying? So you opening the space for things like this does give me the opportunity to talk about, my graffiti background. Yeah, I used to graph. When I got into high school, I went through many phases, but like I'd say like sophomore through senior year is when I started hanging out with the essays.
Okay. I got to ask the question. What was your writing name?
So I went through a bunch because I had to practice all these things. I had to get good. I had to have a name that, that stuck with me, that embodied me, all of these things. So the name that I was writing when I stopped too, I stopped because of this, but I used to write 5 tons, number 5 TONS. And at the time, high school, I was a heavy guy. You know what I mean? I was the only black dude in a group of, all my homies that wrote. And so I needed something that kind of like, if we were going to go pick up some markers or, whatever it may be, if we were going to meet with some of the older heads, obviously they're like, what you write? You know what I mean? Like, what you write? So I didn't want to have something that was whack or something that didn't really like show me. So I figured, hey, as soon as I show up, I'm the big black dude, heavy set, don't really fit in. Who are you? 5 tons, homie. 5 tons, BCK.
That's so dope, man. I mean, that's a good name. I mean, I can see it now. 5 tons. It sounds dope, man. I mean. So now you live in the graffiti capital of the world, right? I mean, that's your home base. I know you're training and working out in Vegas right now, but your home base is in the graffiti capital of the world.
New York City. Yeah. So really quick, actually, before I tell you that, so when I was in high school, I was messing up a bit, all this stuff, and my mom was like, we're gonna move. She's like, if you keep getting these Fs and all this stuff, I'm gonna take you away from your friends. I don't care. Then we're gonna move. And I'm like, well, where are we gonna move? And she's like, I'm gonna take you out of here and we're gonna go to LA. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, like, let's go to LA. Like, if you knew what I was doing and the reason why I'm messing up in school, the last place you want to take me is Los Angeles, I'm telling you. So, lo and behold, like, I kept messing up. She moved me to LA. And I got transferred from Las Vegas High School to Hamilton High School. And she would drop me off at school, and Hamilton was a lot different. So there was like a long walkway before you even get into the main building. And she would drop me off. I would like look back. I'd act like I'm walking. Boom, hit her right. There was a record store right next door. The dude in there, his name was Jack. He had all the Montanas. He had all the markers. They had a little space in the back. So I would literally just like skip school and go learn more, like learn how to paint. And started getting like little like truancy letters and stuff. And then she's like, we're going back to Vegas. And went back to Vegas. And then my friends at the time, they were like, yo, you back? Like, let's go, let's go catch some spots. And I was like, absolutely. So I thought I was big time because I was coming from LA. I was painting with some LA dudes. It was way different world, like way more serious. And I was like, wow, this is like hardcore, So they hit me up. They're like, yo, you're back in town. Let's go catch some spots. So we went out. We tried to catch some spots in Vegas off the freeway, and the helicopter came. And so like I hid under a bush. I was there for what felt like 2 hours, but it might have been like 45 minutes. Who knows? And at that point, I was just like, I gotta stop. Like, I don't know if I'm built for the life. Like I can still enjoy it, but I don't know if I'm built for the life. Like I'm too heavy to be running from police. If my mom catches me, I'm done for. So yeah, that's when I hung it up.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hide 5 tons.
Yeah, it really is. Move 5 tons when the police are coming after you.
That's dope, man. So look, I got an exclusive. Joe Rogan didn't get the graffiti exclusive. Street Gospel Podcast got the graffiti exclusive.
We spitting truth on the streets. Yeah, so I'm in New York part time. It's amazing, man. And the cool thing about it is like with COVID times, the streets are dead. So there's a lot of fresh paint around. And it's just cool, man. It's cool to wake up, go grab some coffee, walk, and just and see all legendary stuff. Stuff you see on the internet, but live. Like when I was growing up, or when I was painting at the time, my favorite artist was Earsnot from Iraq Crew. And moving to New York, like I saw fresh Earsnot tags, just dripping, like in person, like no longer on YouTube, like none of that stuff. Like I saw it in person and caught photos and stuff. So it's cool to still feel connected to that. Absolutely.
That's dope, man. I know when I was in New York, we were in right off Canal Street, and I'm walking, and in between the cracks of these two on the sidewalk, there was some like little weather stripping, in between the cracks there. And I seen a small little prey in there, and prey was like notoriously like nobody knew. I think it was a her. Nobody, or maybe it was a him. I don't know. I thought it was a her, but nobody was really sure who was putting these prey tags in little scribes. There was just little small spots everywhere, but they would be like on a phone booth. And then I'm walking, with my head down, and I see a prey, and I was like, dude, that's dope. I took a little picture of it.
You see, like when you see it in person, you're like, wow, like this is amazing. I don't know, it hits differently. It for sure hits differently.
It's so dope. Let me ask you about this, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll let you get back to what you got to do, man. So you started a brand.
Yeah. So the reason that I started a brand was that, coming from touring and selling merch and all of these things, I've always been involved and I've always had a heart for just good merch, tour merch. You know, like that's how I kept my memories. It's still to this day, I have boxes on boxes of shirts since I was like 14. You know what I mean? Like I have all the shirts that I collected from all my favorite bands, and they hold memories. So being a fighter, all these fighters have like their walkout shirts, you know, it'll say like, you know, blah, 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 Chuck Liddell, you know, like all these things. And for me, I just thought that was never cool. Like I would never want my homie, I wouldn't want to be having coffee with you and you have a shirt that says Khalil Rountree and I'm sitting with you. Like that doesn't fly with me, you know, like I don't like that. So when I was living in Thailand, it was very like rare for them to see a big black dude that fought. You know, they you don't see many people like me out there anyway. So to see a guy who's actually like training with the little Thais and trying to do everything just like them, they were like really intrigued by it. So there was I ended up being given a nickname, Super Champ. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I never really like had a nickname. I got one in Thailand. Like, this is cool. So like I would ride down the street and then like the ladies would be like, oh, Super Champ, you know, like the ladies who gave it to me. So I'm like, wow, like this feels good. Like this feels like something. So I just was like messing around with some fonts, things like that. And I just like threw it on a shirt and I was like, yo, I kind of like how this looks. So I made a couple more. People were like, yo, I want that. And I was like, maybe I'll just make it a brand. Maybe I'll just brand it. So I branded it, but then like when I went back to Thailand, I started writing. So like another one of my creative outlets is just like storytelling and writing. So I started writing and I made I got an email really quick. My agent hit me up. He's like, hey, there's a casting call for any actors, writers, whatever. Netflix is looking for some content, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I know you're busy, but if you want to take a shot at this, like whatever, just send me what you got. And so in 7 days, I wrote this story, like a pitch, like for a TV show. And I wrote it and I illustrated it and everything. I drew every photo, wrote the whole story, just locked myself down and I sent it over to them. They sent it to Netflix. Netflix got back to me, all these things. So I'm like, yo, I can make a show. Like these people, like what I just wrote, these people are like, yo, this is cool. So Super Champ, I wrote a story about it being like a black superhero. I didn't have that growing up. You know, like for Halloween, like I couldn't be nobody but something, you know, I had to be something else. I couldn't be Superman, all this stuff. So I ended up making Super Champ a superhero and creating a whole story behind that ties into my life and my experiences. And we'll have to do like another episode so I can get into depth with you about it because it's real deep. But so it ended up becoming something else. But then I like continued to do the branding side and the merch side of it. So right now it's like it's a project and it's brewing. You know what I mean? And it's gonna explode soon. There's a lot of things behind it right now. So yeah, I got a brand, Super Champ. There's some merch coming out next month we've been working on. There's a whole story coming out pretty soon, hopefully this year. Yeah, man. Just trying to just keep who I am inside, keep all those juices flowing and still fight and still do my best to make the world a better place.
So dope, man. So dope. See how far you've come, man, in the last 10 years. And you seem really happy. And I was going to ask you about this. You seem really happy because I've seen a special lady in your life. She looks pretty tough, too.
Yeah. So Mia King, man, she's a strong woman. We met just from like mutual friends and just having like a mutual like love and appreciation for Thailand. And you know, like we were just kind of talking a little bit, and then COVID happened, and we're like, all right, we've been talking, everybody's getting locked down, so we just were like, whatever, we locked down together. And to be honest, man, it was definitely something that I've never done before, but I appreciated it because everything was like kicked into warp speed. So I was like, if you're with someone 24/7, locked down, quarantined, it's like, this is who I am. This, you know what I mean? It was just like constant thing. And super accomplished. She's super encouraging. You know, she thinks for herself, speaks for herself. Like it's awesome. It's inspiring, man. And so, yeah, I'm happy. I feel like a lot of things in my life right now. I feel like I got my family, you know, I've got my career, I've got my girl, we got my dreams, and now it's just all about work.
Right.
You know, just work, not like just going to work, but internal, you know, just I got everything I need. Now I just got to complete the mission. You know what I'm saying?
So dope, man. I got to say I'm proud of you, man. I mean, definitely proud of you, brother. Before we go though, I gotta do something right here. I do it for everybody, and it's a little something we like to call the Furious Five here.
Ooh, all right.
And what we do is we ask 5 questions, and they're just fun. You answer them quickly, and we head out. You know what I mean? So, question number 1. Khalil's favorite movie as a kid?
Lion King.
Lion King. Were you one of those kids that watched that every day?
Every day. It was actually the first movie that I saw in theaters. And after I saw it in theaters, it something about it, man. Like seeing Simba when he lost his dad, I connected to that. I learned a lot of lessons in it. It kind of like taught me to be free. It taught me that like kind of like the world is mine in a sense, you know, like you know what I'm saying? Like it taught me adventure. It taught me that, you know, that there's hyenas that always want to take you down. It taught me that like love can be a very fun, you know, a fun thing, a cool adventure. It taught me so much. It taught me so much at a young age.
So dope, man. I mean, how does this is the part of you that I love, man. You're so thoughtful and take something that most kids would probably just be like, it's just a Lion King. Who cares? Mama, they ya, baba, bay ya, whatever. And then you were a kid and you're just like processing it and really seeing like the inner layer of Lion King.
Simba, like he was like held, you know, like presented like this is the future king, like all these things. Like as a kid, I was like, I'm Simba. Like I just felt like, you know, like I want to be Simba. Like I want to be, you know, yeah. It was, I definitely took it differently.
That's dope, man. Question number 2. If you weren't a fighter right now, what career would you be doing?
I'd probably be a musician of some sort, probably a producer, probably produce like all types of music, more like sampling, hip hop, you know, just producing music, working with artists, laying down good, like putting good tracks so like rappers and singers and stuff could, you know, could spit over it.
That's dope.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So what hobby does Khalil Rountree have that he keeps on the down low? Nobody knows.
What hobby? Dang, I feel like I don't have any hobbies. I'm sure. Hold on, let me see. What hobby do I have that nobody really knows of? Man,
do you collect? Do you collect things? Do you watch certain shows and nobody knows about it? And if they knew, then it would be kind of embarrassing. What is something?
I mean, when you put it in, yeah, when you put it that way, yeah, for sure. So, I love watching like the Real Housewives series of Atlanta, Salt Lake City, Beverly Hills. Something about it, it just like I just get like drawn into it. As far as collections goes, I collect hats and sneakers from all different teams and sports. Even if I'm not a fan, if I just like, you know, I just collect hats. If I go to like, if I stop in an airport, whether it's New York or Detroit or whatever, like I always pick up a hat. So I have like hundreds of hats, bunch of sneakers, t-shirts. So yeah, I'm a collector of those type of things.
So you're one of those hype beasts.
It doesn't necessarily have to be hype, you know, like I'm not chasing what's the new hottest item. It's more of like I like to collect things that remind me of like my upbringing. You get what I'm saying? When it comes to just like art, or I just bought a new rug. It's like Quasimodo, the character from Mad Lib from Stone's Throw. He, I bought a Quasimodo rug because when I was a kid, like I loved Stone's Throw. I loved listening to the Lord Quas and Loot Pack. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this. Sneakers. It's just something that it's just part of culture, right? Like who doesn't love sneakers, especially just growing up in LA, or LA, Vegas, whatever. And music, man. I listen to music all day. All day, from jazz to classical to hardcore to hip hop, gospel, don't matter. I have to have music on all day.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Well, we know something about Khalil, a little bit extra right there. If you only I think we're on question number 4 now. Yeah. If you only could listen to one album for the rest of your life, what album would it be?
In Rainbows by Radiohead. Yeah. It's like I'd say it'd be, I can't even compete with that. Like that's an album that I can put on front to back and listen to it, nonstop. There's many albums that I can do that with, but for some reason that one popped up. So yeah, In Rainbows by Radiohead.
All right. Last question, Khalil.
Yeah.
If you started a band today, what would the name of the band be?
Ooh. Wow. If I started a band today, the name would be... Oh, dang, dude, that's hard. Oh, that's a hard one. It would be called Brick and Iron.
Brick and Iron. Why?
Because brick and iron are hard. They're hard. And if I started Brick and Iron, it would be like... I'd be the vocalist, and it'd be really, really pissed off, and it'd be really, really hard, and all my lyrics would just be hard. You know what I mean? It'd be like my outlet for that. Like I would want, like if I'd have to be the front man, just because like that was always my dream too. Watching bands and stuff, like just the front man was always like the guy, But I would like. I think fighting is the only thing that I get to show that like side of myself, like that harder side. So I think that like having a band and I'm like the front man and my lyrics just be real pissed off and hard. I think, Brick and Iron.
That's so dope, man. I can see you as a lead guy. I'm gonna send you a link of a band I used to be in, and I want your real review on it and let me know what's up. Because guess who was the front man in that band?
Hold on. Let me get the name. Hold on. The name. It was man. I don't want to say No Shelter because that's your dojo. It was something else, man. Dang. I remember it was like Rage inspired. I remember you sending me videos back then and like it was good. Yeah, it was good. Hold on. Tell me.
540.
540. Okay, yeah.
we played at the showcase. You know what I mean? We were there.
Yeah, it goes down at the showcase,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Khalil, man.
Chapter 7.
I appreciate you coming on the show. I know we try to make it work so you can be in studio in person, and hopefully one of these days we'll get you out here when you come visit your IE peeps, and we'll get you and Mia out here and get you guys some dinner or something, and get you in studio, man. But I really appreciate you coming out, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad that I'm back stateside and we were able to make this happen. Next time it'll definitely be in person, in studio. We'll make it fun. Maybe we'll do some we'll pick a topic and we'll just talk about that for sure.
I'm down, brother. Anything you want to shout out, Khalil, before we go?
I want to shout out Dave One. I want to shout out Street Gospel. I want to shout out LA. I want to shout out Vegas. And and I want to shout out Jesus and friendship. Absolutely.
So dope, man. Thank you for joining us for Street Gospel bonus episode number 2 with Khalil Rountree. We out. We're going to go riding right now.
Yeah.
Day 1 and 5 tons.
Let's do it.
Peace.
Like.